In this video, we're going to talk about a brand new feature from AWS that's going to help you build your step functions faster, so stay tuned. What is going on, guys? This is Daniel, and today we're going to talk about AWS Data Flow Simulator for Step Functions, which is a brand new function that was announced in April of 2021 by AWS, and its whole goal is to make it easier for you to develop step functions and to simulate your data flow as it passes through your step functions workflow. So why is this important? Well, it's important because when you're building step functions, typically what you need to do is select certain fields from input and output of different steps within your workflow. This sounds trivial, but as you build larger and larger step functions, this can get increasingly complicated. So how this tool works is that it's aimed to solve this particular problem. So you can pass some specified input into it, perform some different selectors and filter operations to see what the output is and kind of monitor your step function's data flow as it passes through certain steps within your workflow lifecycle. For example, one of the nodes in my step function may be a Lambda function, and I want to select two specific fields from my input to pass into my Lambda function as parameters for that Lambda function. We can simulate this data flow in the AWS console now by using this data flow tool. Contrast this with how it used to work before, where you would set up these very large step functions, then pass in data, and then kind of make your modifications. Oops, it failed. Make your modification again. Try again. It was a very iterative process that was error prone and just took a long time. Now, using this tool, your life is made a lot easier. You can test all this stuff in a sandbox environment in the console, and it's fairly easy to get started. So let's move over to the console now and just do a quick demo to check it out. All right, guys, so here we are in the AWS console. So I'm just going to go to the top here and just type in step function, and we're going to click on step functions here. And so this is the default screen that you'll see if you've never been to step functions before. If you've already been here and you already have a state machine, you'll see a different view with your state machines listed one after another, but this is the default view. Now, in order to get to the data flow simulator, it's kind of hidden. It's off to the side and not really talked about. So you need to go to the left-hand side here where these three horizontal lines are and click on these guys. This is going to bring up this different context menu here. And what you want to do is click on this guy here, Data Flow Simulator. I don't know why it's so hidden away, but maybe if someone from AWS is watching, you can make this a little bit better experience. All right, so here we are on the Data Flow Simulator section. This is going to be the area where you kind of play with your inputs and your outputs. So let's scroll down a little bit to see this thing in action. So we can see here these different horizontal icons here. These are the different input and output operators that you can do on your data as it passes through your step function workflow. So for example, your state input is pretty self-explanatory. That's just what you pass in. And input path is if you want to select a certain field from your input to pass it to the next step. Parameters is if you want to create a key value pair to pass into your next step. For example, a Lambda function or an SNS topic or something like that. Task result is for the result that you'll get from that service integration. Then there's result selector so that you can select certain fields from the result. There's a whole bunch of different things here. You can kind of read into these on your own time. They're very specific to step functions, so you can check those out. Now let's actually run through this and see this in action. So we are on state input right now. So you can see that we have a very basic object that's being passed in. It's just a list of library movies. And that's all that's being passed into the step function. So let's assume for a second that we only want a subset of this data. Let's assume that we only want to access what is inside the library object in this payload. So in order to do that, we move on to the input path section. And you can see here, well, this gives you a description of what input path means. You can read up on that. But effectively, it allows you to specify a key. And this is, by the way, this is using, oops, I don't know what happened there. This is using JSON path notation. If you don't know about JSON path, it's just basically like a query language for JSON so that you can select certain things out of JSON objects with a pretty standardized notation. So this is it in action. So we see pound.library. And what that's going to do is select the library object from within our input object. So if we take a look at this object here, which is basically our library object, that is the output of our next step. And so what you see is that you're basically filtering down these results by using this notation. You can also do things like select the first element here, since we know this is an array, and then you can see over on the right here, this is what our output will look like. This was a pretty simple example, but as you can imagine, some people develop some very complicated step functions that need to select all sorts of different data fields and do all sorts of different manipulations on them. So for those people, this is a very helpful tool that's going to help you out in kind of experimenting before you push to production. Hope you enjoyed this video. Check out the one on the right here for more on step functions. And as always, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.